pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Gilman,
Here.
Haslam, absent, excused. Lehman.
Here.
Horn. Here. Underwood.
Here. I would move we approve the agenda as it is.
Support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any conflict of interest? Hearing none? Public comment? No public? All right, I will call for nominations for the office of the chair for 2023.
I'll make a motion to nominate Joe Underwood as chair for 2023.
And I would make a motion to nominate Jason Gilman for 2023.
How do we do this? Do you do a slate or do you do individual?
Individual.
Okay, so you let my nomination go, and then is there a second? Is that what? And question is, do you have to have all your board members here if it's a 5-person board?
Wait a minute, is that,
Maybe somebody with a fancy car. That could be our. It could be our attorney member.
if we could pause the meeting briefly and then we could.
And I think you have to at least wait. If you don't have a second, then you can, at least have to have a second and give it the opportunity.
So then
For a second,
before I.
you can then have another motion to
Is
nominate.
that how you do it? Okay,
That's right.
I've seen it done a couple different ways, so.
And we're not likely to, Joe's not gonna second himself. I'm not gonna second myself.
So we're kind of.
That's why I wondered if you guys needed to have your full board. I don't know.
So we're kind of a stalemate.
So organizational meetings traditionally require at least 2/3, and this is 4/5.
Yes, I mean, we have enough people. So there's no second?
No seconds?
So I think it just stopped.
Well, at that point,
The new nomination, if that would be when you would nominate. If you're going to.
You mean after
After
If
the
you
motion,
guys aren't gonna
motion
second.
died for a second.
Okay, and if I wanted to nominate Jason, then I would nominate Jason.
But if you do that and get a second, do you guys wait for all the nominations or do you vote on each one?
So then we would vote at that nomination.
So it's
Then we
different
would.
than how the county does it. Okay. That is fine with me.
Sort of awkward without our fifth guy.
yes.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I've never
So-
been on this small of a board, but it is significant.
Yes, so
I
without
hope he's okay.
a nomination going through, we have no chair to lead the meeting.
Until we have a nomination and a second and a
Yes.
vote. that
Right.
follows
So
it
at
up.
this point,
Hello, where are you? Okay, the meeting started at 6. No,
Organizational.
organizational meeting was at 6. You did, you missed it, yep. Yep. Do you have an ETA?
Not gonna wait.
Okay. Okay, well, I'm glad you're okay. That was what I was checking, so we will see you when you get here. Hyder says he doesn't care at all. Okay. Okay, well, we just wanted to double check you were good, and now we know, and we will move on. All right, thank you. Bye-bye. I do feel better that he answered because that was a little bit weird and it is a little bit snowy, so there we go.
So do I need to call for another nomination?
I think I don't know what you do at this point, honestly.
Now, you can either nominate or I could second one or the other. What's your pleasure?
I thought we had, I didn't know, I didn't clearly understand the process, but we've got a fairly new board. Joe and I are only 2 years. You're new.
I'm a solid 10 minutes in.
Right, and Hyder's a few months in. So Jason was the one with the most stability and history. And as far as being somewhat aware of what's happened on the board the past number of years. And I thought you should go for one more year, but that was my feeling.
You can clearly make a nomination for anybody that you want. That is okay.
Yeah.
You don't even have to justify. That's
No, I would like to nominate Jason.
and then I will support so we can have a discussion at least on this because this is sort of silly, right? It's a little bit weird missing somebody.
All right.
It's, you know.
So we can have a discussion. So I kind of said what I.
Jason, is this something that you were interested in or were aware of or something that you had discussed doing?
It's one of those things where, as I said to the county board when we got, Carl was the person who had the most experience. Now he's at least in Florida until April, so good for him. And it kind of leaves me with the most road commission experience on the board. Everybody is relatively new. Joe's qualified as well. Be chair. He's been the vice chair for the past year. I tend to like continuity to some extent. And I will say that one of my skills, if there be one on the road commission, is I do tend to have a fairly decent overview of things, and I run a pretty decent meeting. As far as I have no problem serving for another year as the chair, if that's the way it goes. And I would pretty much do things the way that I've been doing them. I'm not a micromanager as far as being the chair, but I think we, as a board, need to step up our oversight a little bit more. So there will be some changes, and I think that that's going to come as a result of, we're going to have our strategic planning. These guys know where I'm at on most everything. You haven't been here, maybe.
No.
Okay. Yeah.
No.
But that's pretty much where I'm at.
Well, I know that traditionally, my experience with the road commission in the past is that the person that served as the vice chair the year prior traditionally stepped up and served as the chair. So that is my understanding. Joe is my support on that because that's my understanding. Is traditionally how we had done things, at the road commission in the past. And it does make sense to some extent, that you kind of have that year as vice chair and then you sort of step up. But of course, I haven't been here. I haven't been involved with the road commission in a few years, as you know. So I certainly do support Joe being the chair and just, having that opportunity of something slightly different. But I also understand your interest in continuity as well. So I suppose that would be deferring to my fellow board members. I don't, really hold any cards in this game.
And a little over a year ago, I nominated Joe to be the vice chair, so it's not like I don't think he's.
I think everybody knows it's not personal.
No, it's
Nothing in politics really is. The people that think it is are kind of off.
I'm sure he would also do fine.
Yeah. So I also am aware that I understand that the chair of your board traditionally makes appointments to committees and commissions and all of that. And I have only been contacted by one person, and that would be Joe. Knowing his interest and talking about different committee assignments and stuff like that. So I'm not sure how you guys do that, or if you had a slate prepared, or how you had done that. But you and I, full disclosure, have not spoken
Right.
at all.
That's
So
correct.
I am unaware of any way that you do that, because traditionally the county, those of us know we're gonna be the president, we reach out.
Yeah, we've kind of always worked through it. After the chair and the vice chair are settled, we kind of work through it and go through the previous assignments and then put people in place. And I know that he wants to go back to East Bay Township and be the.
I sat down. Yes. So that is, obviously I had, spoken to Joe, because my understanding just from the past, prior to losing Bill was, we had kind of just sort of done the vice chair thing, so. And I know that with him passing while he was chair, kind of changed that, so, yeah. So I am open to that, but I did discuss with Joe to support him being chair, and did discuss committee assignments, so just full disclosure to the two I haven't spoken to. And Hyder was aware of that as well. You know what I didn't say to Hyder? Did you know the meeting's at 6 o'clock?
No.
I didn't say that. So that was probably my bad.
Well, we can take a vote on this, and then if it fails, we can go to the next step.
I'm not the chair at this board, for sure, so I don't.
Well.
All right,
Let's run the show right now.
I am not the chair of this board.
so do we have support for
Yep.
Jason Gilman being chair for 2023?
Yeah, she said yes.
Well, at some point, we have to have support for a discussion, and we can't just
Yeah.
say,
Bullet roll? Chasm absent. Corn?
that's a tough one. Why does the chairperson have to be first?
She bounces this around rather on purpose for us.
I know a law school dropout.
Yeah.
I will abstain from this,
Lehman?
just to make it fun.
Yes.
Gilman?
Well, I would say yes, but then that.
You understand what I'm doing then,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah,
Joe has to decide.
There you go.
and I was gonna abstain.
Wow. Well. We have a forum.
How much longer does? But you don't have a majority of
Right.
that quorum. So how much longer till?
Well, actually, I mean,
Either gets here.
yeah, abstain.
That's how you guys do it.
I mean, it's abstain is an abstain. I mean, it's neither a yes or a no.
It's just a no.
So if there are no votes, I think.
Well, I don't think I should be the deciding person, because we already know who you two are voting in, and it really is Joe's has expressed interest in it, and you have. That's not my role to play. That's all. It's just not my role to play. Welcome to having a girl on the road commission.
I don't think that.
It's just not my role to play. That would be you guys to, as board members with each other that both have an interest in. I don't have anything against either, sir.
So where does that leave us? I mean, if we have 2 yeas and no nays, but 2 abstains.
I still believe that if we're following Robert's rules, I still believe you have to have an actual majority of the people that are here
Voting.
to have it pass.
So if Hyder was here and he voted no, then what would it be?
I still think you need 3 yeses. I think
Joe would have to vote yes.
so in order to get this through, I think you need to have 3 yeses effectively, because you can't, unless you had only 3 members, and then you'd have to have 2. If 2 members did not show up, then you'd need 2. But with 4, you would need to have the majority of the board present, which would mean 3 voting yes. And at this point,
I've been on this board 10 minutes. I'm not playing a role in this whole thing.
At this point, I'm almost half tempted to say it's potentially better to just wait till Hyder gets here. And at this point, solve it, and then take a 5-minute recess till he gets here.
Did you see he's on his way here?
He did, he was on State Street, he said when I talked to him. He was in his car.
So he's,
So much traffic that you can tell there.
You're what?
Never
You
mind.
have a rules?
At home, and I didn't bring it with me, I didn't bring it.
So it's a majority of members present, is what it is, so it's great.
never happened.
It's been a while though, there's another day, and we're at the hammer. We had a bridge right there. We really is.
See our new finance?
Yes.
Okay.
And he'll do a little introduction, in a real meeting.
Okay,
So,
okay, good.
for you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
No problem.
Once it goes dark, you just see it.
And he's driving his car. and
Just in the break so I can walk down the hallway.
that- You can either that or go in that one too.
We must be at a break.
Time since I've read Robert's rules, maybe it's time to reread.
Yeah, right.
Your board rules dictate anything that requires a supermajority unless if it's state dictated. And this is just a majority of commissioners present, not commissioners elected.
Here he is.
Sorry.
That's okay. We're at a standstill because we don't have any, we can't get the nomination and successful passage of who's going to be the chair. So we need a 5th member.
Put him on the spot.
Have we taken the vote? Have we
No pressure.
completed the vote or?
Yeah, I don't think Joe said abstain. That's the thing. I don't think he did. So no, I would say no.
Okay.
Still on the floor.
So,
Absentation does not affect the voting result.
what is that?
Does not affect the voting result, so I would still think you need 3 yeses.
Yes.
So right now,
3 noes or whatever.
What are we? So
we are trying to find a chair.
Okay.
The motion was made originally by Elisa to nominate Joe.
Okay.
It died with no second. So Alan then made a nomination for Jason. Jason seconded, or Elisa seconded. We had a discussion about it as to whether or not it was gonna be, what was happening. But then when it came to the vote, Elisa abstained, and I believe Joe said he was going to abstain, but I don't know if he actually did abstain. So we would not have a majority of the board. We don't have the majority of the quorum that was here. So it pretty much then, we're at a stop again, but there's Joe now. He's-
It's up to you whether or not this goes on any further or whether or not.
So if you either say no or abstain,
Then we
If you could, the motion,
Motion by Alan, seconded by, more discussion, but to nominate Gilman for chair of 2023. Corn abstain, Lehman, yes, Gilman, yes, Underwood, abstain.
so I think now we need another motion. If you did you abstain? Is that?
So
So,
you officially abstained, you think?
yeah,
The motion dies.
so the motion dies because we don't have a majority, but now we have 5 people, so
Okay.
hopefully we can find somebody.
All right. We have to have another nomination.
So
Yeah,
take
somebody
another
has to be nominated.
nomination for chair for 2023.
I nominate John Underwood as chair, for position of chair.
Support.
Any discussion? No, she was just,
You're in the order.
You guys rotate?
yes, it rotates every vote, but Hyder was first last time, so now you're first.
Okay, then I will vote yes.
Yes. Lehman,
I'll vote yes.
Gilman,
Yes.
Chasm,
Yes.
Underwood.
Yes.
All right, we have a chair.
Now, Joe, take over.
Done.
Is there a motion for vice chair?
I will make a motion to nominate Hyder.
Is there a second?
Support.
Lehman,
Oh, we're voting, there's no
oh,
discussion.
sorry, was there discussion?
Is there discussion? Okay.
Discussion.
Yes.
You're good.
Yeah, my vote was yes, sorry.
Gilman,
Yes.
Chasm,
Yes.
Horn,
Yes.
Underwood.
Yes, all right, so we have a chair and vice chair. Then we go to appointments, right? There is one change on C, the financial manager is Perry.
Yeah, these were the 22,
Yep, these are all
so
22.
you have to go through and assure that, yes, all of them.
And everything else was gonna stay the same through the BOC. For TC Legislative Committee, I'd like to put Hyder in that one. What I didn't know is the Traffic Safety Committee. What is the Traffic Safety Committee?
There, that was something we had,
TTCI,
but it's kind of almost been absorbed by what we do with TTCI and with staff.
So it's not needed.
So if it's not needed, if you don't feel like you want somebody on it, and Wayne is gonna have a presentation for you here this year to show what was the potential. So I don't know if it's needed anymore, but historically, they would have been the ones who would have sat with us to look at financial, potential for safety grants and the like. But he's gonna present you for what, 12 options?
Yes, I'm actually gonna have one of my assistant engineers doing that.
All
but-
right, good for you.
Because if we don't need it, there's no reason to appoint. The surveyor should be the engineer now on the County Address Appeals Committee. It's no longer the survey. On townships, with Carl leaving, who was the furthest south. I didn't really go through and just assign people. I kind of wanted to figure out where people are, how far they want to travel. I do think that for Hyder, Long Lake, Blair, Traverse City, kind of, and the DDA part all kind of goes together with Traverse Connect. I do like that one. Jason, you did Acme Whitewater. Can you do your name too?
Yeah, I could do it too.
Okay.
So I was gonna be, what'd you say?
Belair, Long Lake, Traverse City. And it's sort of like DDA, you have to go to the DDA once a year or twice a year, whatever it is, but they do their works. Okay. Alan, you had Garfield and Peninsula and Long Lake. Would you be willing to do East Bay? Okay.
Nobody wants it.
That's all right. How about you just do those two for now? Elise, are you willing to travel a little bit?
Okay, so like you're killing me because I know exactly. I know exactly what this means.
I was gonna give you the,
So
small.
I am willing to take East Bay Township. I will take one for the team,
Okay,
but I would like to request Garfield Township because I'm literally there.
you are literally there, but
As long as they have
Will there
somebody that
be-
shows up to their meetings, because there has not been anybody at a meeting for quite a while. So we just need to make sure that somebody's there.
We're
because-
scheduled for the 20.
No, I mean like every meeting. They expect once a month to have a road commission
Oh, they do expect
representative
somebody once a
at
month?
Garfield. Well, yeah, because we always have one. Can you go inside? Yeah.
I can go
They
one-
meet
I live right
They meet 2 times a
Well,
month.
you both
so
live
can
right
go
there.
to one of the 2.
And my logic is,
I don't really care as long as somebody is there.
my logic is you are closely related to Garfield Township.
I
So
don't
think
disagree with you.
I'd rather appreciate not getting the chair.
As long as.
Closely
So
related.
like Alan is not sleeping with his supervisor.
Would you prefer, this, you and I are gonna have to have this other.
No, I am perfectly fine to take any of the ones that were left over by Carl or any of that. I just want to make sure that it is covered and I am willing to do it because I am there already. That is all I'm saying.
Okay.
That's it, but I'm willing to take.
If it's
Like for
logical.
real, I'm taking East Bay Township. So
Okay,
like,
yeah, I'm
I'm
gonna give you
clearly
East Bay.
like putting an effort.
And then would you be willing to do Grant and Paradise?
Sure, I will find those township halls and
Yeah,
I will
they're
go visit
They're
them.
great people.
I don't
and then-
doubt that.
And then I'm gonna do Paradise, Fife Lake.
Wait,
Okay,
we
so-
just had her with Paradise.
Oh,
So
no.
I have
it's
East
Grant.
Bay.
Grant and
Mayfield.
Mayfield, I'm sorry, Mayfield, sorry.
Mayfield.
Mayfield, not Paradise. I was gonna do
Okay, so what do I have here? East Bay,
East Bay,
Mayfield.
Mayfield, and Grant. Which is
Grant?
far.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever been there though.
Yeah.
Well, when you're ready, when we are going, you'll come with me and you can follow me, because it's right down the road from my house.
Oh, great,
7
okay.
minutes from my house.
So that's
I
good.
think then we have everything covered.
So you're
So-
taking, Underwood's taking Fife Lake, Paradise, and Green Lake?
Oh, Mayfield.
Well, Green Lake.
I'm
Yeah.
Mayfield.
I will take Mayfield if you'll take Green Lake, which is in a lot.
I will take Green Lake
Okay,
and East Bay.
okay.
Okay, thank you, Jason, for acknowledging that.
Okay.
Grant is very, very good because it's a very short meeting.
Yeah.
It's like
I will take
15,
Grant.
20 minutes.
It sounds like a
Will
nice
that be
group of
okay?
people. So I'm gonna cross out Mayfield
I apologize.
and I am gonna
forgot
do
about that.
Green Lake Township.
And I appreciate everybody working with me because it's like, geez, everybody is.
So Joe, you have Fife Lake,
Yeah.
Mayfield,
I don't know that we do
Yeah.
villages.
Paradise,
Do we do
Paradise.
villages?
so then you'll do the Village of Kingsley and Village of Mayfield.
Mostly because we.
Correct.
They do villages. Okay.
Only,
And then
Only
Allen has
Kingsley.
Garfield and Peninsula.
because they have work that we coordinate.
Okay.
Fife Lake Village, we do not, you that's the only other village that's actually incorporated. But we do have somebody at the city of Traverse City, because they do a lot of work in coordination.
Great.
And if the board is okay with it, I'd also like to create a liaison position with the airport. And I'd like to have Elise do that. There's a logic behind that. If they're really gonna build another terminal or 2, we're gonna have to build the infrastructure, so we should probably have somebody know what's happening and be able to report back to us. So I'd like to do that.
Do you need a motion for it?
I would say
Sure.
motion.
We need a motion.
So I'll make the motion to create the position of airport liaison. And appoint Lisa for as liaison.
I will support it.
There's been a motion and support. Any additional discussion? Seeing none? Do we have to do a roll call or is it just a voice?
Yeah, just all in favor,
Aye.
all opposed?
I would also like to create a liaison with the Beta Board. I'd like to
You want to appoint yourself?
appoint myself to that. Sounds kind of arrogant, doesn't it?
We all agree.
Nobody's fighting over that.
Yes.
I am on the Beta Board, but I also want to institutionalize it so that in the future,
How long is your appointment on the?
3 years.
3 years.
So how did you get appointed?
County Board of Commissioners.
Oh. Okay. So do you need a liaison, separate from the county board appointment?
He's going to be doing the effective thing, but he wants it on record that it's our liaison.
Oh.
But I'm
So that it
also,
stays
I'm also
permanent.
interfacing
Right,
with them
right.
Got it. Okay.
on our behalf too. not just the
Okay.
county's behalf.
All right.
So it's the 2 entities.
Got it.
kind of a thing.
Are all of your appointments here for 1 year? Is that how you guys do by the road commission? Okay.
Yeah, typically if it's the same board, the townships, they kind of stay the same unless you want to horse trade between you.
Okay.
You get tired of seeing the same people every week or every month or whatever, how often you're there.
You're real nice to me, I might take these pictures.
If there's a support for that, or
I will support that.
any more, all in favor? Or do you have more
Well,
discussion?
is there a conflict between our boards? Could there arise a conflict between our boards?
You mean our board and the.
Our board and the Beta board?
The only conflict, quote unquote, that I come up with, and that I also talked to Brad, would be when they're asking for curb cuts and stuff like that. So I would probably have.
Or special dispensation right here.
Right.
Yeah,
So that would
So I
have
would
a
have to-
conflict potentially, but that's
You
already
just
been
frame.
resolved.
and I'll do that anyway,
Yeah.
because I'm sit on 2 boards, so I'm not gonna vote on that kind of stuff.
Are you a voting member on the data
I
board?
am a voting member.
I thought you
He's
were.
a citizen member.
So, yeah, so at this point, you know, really, you don't see much that would be considered a conflict with them. Because 99.9% of what happens between here and the Grand Traverse County Road Commission is administrative. It is not board level stuff, so it's not really in there to be a conflict. So it shouldn't be, and if there was another facility or something else that needed some dispensation from us, then you'd sit out, and it'd be fine.
And if there does arise a problem, then let's say I leave that board, then we still have the liaison portion in place.
So did Lisa, you make the motion to have?
I think Joe made the
Joe,
motion.
yeah.
Joe made the motion.
And then
Like I said, I'd like to have a motion.
Oh, okay.
Am I allowed to make motions?
Of course you are.
Good.
Yeah, I just, as a rule.
Okay.
You just.
We'll let other people
All right.
do it, but you.
Yeah. And if there's a problem, we'll correct it.
Do we compete with them for resources in any sort of way?
The only way we compete with them is like the TTCI stuff, and that is not done by us, that is done by staff.
So federal funding, they get a certain portion, and Wayne's on the small urban and the rural task force. But the small urban is going away because we're gonna be the metropolitan planning. And that's gonna be governed by a huge board of voting members. And at that point, that's a thing that everybody has conflict because everybody's talking to everybody else. But you just don't put that person on the voting stack of the final MTO so that they are not in conflict.
If it would make you feel better, we can pull this off for now.
No, I'm fine
Because
with it, Joe.
I've
I don't,
also asked the county people to say, do you see a issue? And I have not heard back yet. But that's why I said. if
I was
there's a
gonna
problem-
support your motion if you needed it, if you wanted it.
Because I do think in the future, I just happen to be on that board right now. Somebody from this board's not gonna be on 2 boards in the future. It would be nice to have that interface. Because they're probably one of our major users of the system.
Did we vote yes on this?
No, it's just right on the table, just having discussion.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Now we're on section E. It all stays the
I had
same.
a question on that.
Okay.
So the highway maintenance supervisor is the managing director, the bridge maintenance supervisor is the engineer. The assistant maintenance supervisor doesn't cover bridges, as that's why the engineer is out of that equation.
It's always been, they're always wanting to have an engineer, especially with bridges, who can go out there and deal with things. Bridges is a totally separate section because we don't maintain any bridges even really for the state. They take care of anything they would have themselves. So it's very, very rare that that would come up, but if it's something that did, I don't think Jay's comfortable with making a decision on a bridge, and I know I'm not comfortable with making a decision on a bridge.
I can identify one.
So it's, and then the only reason the highway maintenance supervisor is the managing director is because the managing director signs
the actual maintenance contract with the state. And then other than that, everything is taken care of by the superintendent and the foreman.
Thank you.
No problem.
Do you need a motion for these
Yeah,
appointments? I'll make a motion.
Just be sure. we
I was gonna
accept
say
the
with that,
appointments.
should you agree to like all your appointments and
Okay.
friendships and all that kind of?
Do we agree with all the above appointments? This is the motion. I think we should-
Oh, okay, to confirm the appointments that we
Confirm the
discussed. Yeah, that's my motion.
Okay.
Support.
Take a pick. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes carried. Meeting and vacation schedule 2023, we previously approved it. Is there any changes, concerns?
Was that, I know that there was no attachments to this meeting, but is there somewhere that I can access that
think that-
schedule?
Yeah, I can get it for you.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question, and this is just for informational purposes. Was there a particular reason why 7 PM was selected as the start time?
It's,
And not like 5 or 6 PM?
well, I mean, it allows people, you know, to have time to get here. For the meeting start.
Clearly, some of us wrong meeting to ask the question. You know, the one time.
Not easily embarrassed, we'll say that.
But I mean, it's just, I mean, I mean, I understand it was because of the people, but I'm just trying to see if I ask like, is there like a?
And I had I would prefer 6 o'clock.
Right.
But and the staff, we would have to hold them after the meeting less, so somebody who drives home to Boyne City, for example, would
Just know that by board rules, our last item is supposed to have been commenced by 10 PM as it is. And if we start at 6, that gives, if we had a rowdy crowd or something, another hour of opportunity to beat us up a little, but that's okay. I'm okay if you guys want to change.
I'm okay too. Yeah, I'm just trying to see, I'm just saying that it's like, especially in winter time, and it's just, you know, everyone gets out a little bit earlier. And
Then I would move that we change the regular meeting times to 6 o'clock instead of 7 on the schedule. Support. We have support for it.
Right,
I'm just gonna say that I sit on some other boards and they're 5:30s, so.
yeah, most people start around that time.
Instead of because of staff time, just so that they don't have to have.
Might actually get home in time to watch, well, that's right, they don't have them on Thursday nights. You okay?
Tuesday.
The motion is to move to 6 o'clock in the future.
Yeah, I'm all
All
for
those in
that.
favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, moving to 6 o'clock. Review ethics policy. Changes.
There was nothing brought up for it, so no, at this point, we don't have anything, and I don't believe you guys have addressed anything in the past year for it, so.
And Lisa's been provided the manual. for it.
Do you have subcommittees on your board?
We're getting to those.
Okay, so ethics and all of that, that's not a standing, I mean, you just have an ethics policy. I just didn't see committees on it. Oh, they're in Joe's book. I missed that.
This is another one where I thought, talking through is better than just saying, why don't you? Last year, Jason's leadership, we set up 5 different committees.
Wow.
Public relations and legislative, engineering, planning, policy, public building and facilities, and finance and budget. So I would kind of like a consensus from you folks, what you think you would like to do.
Is this 5 committees traditionally, you mean?
So like 2 members and we work with staff,
Okay.
If something comes up, you can work with staff.
with appropriate staff.
Like the building and facilities. It was Jason and Carl. We have asked, did you hear back from Carl?
I did, and he's not gonna be back until April 1st. He would like to help us when he comes back, but he's not going to be back until then.
Okay, so we can worry about him. So that would be somebody who's helping us plan and execute Kingsley.
If I may, I'd
Yes.
like to remain on
Yes, that
facilities. And also I'd like to be on the engineering with Alan. I think Alan should.
Yep.
Would be a good choice.
And I think the legislative and public affairs, the two of you are really the only committee that's actually, this was out of our last brainstorming meeting. And we really haven't done much, but you guys made a nice presentation to the county board along, and I think you were there for that meeting.
The last one,
The last one.
Anyway, so they've actually, that's really the first thing I would say that's really been action taken.
Yeah.
By a. And I think we're working not to have our hat handed to us again because of some misinformation.
Right.
That went to the county board.
Right.
We just had a little absence. We weren't as present as we should be. So when somebody started throwing darts, they said, is that true? Or something like that.
Right. So we've had
And you don't have a commissioner go to your, the county board of or a road commissioner go to the county board of commissioners?
No, there are scheduled throughout where management goes, we go with them. You are more than welcome to go at any time you want.
Right, but you don't do a.
But there's no
report.
commissioner liaison.
Okay.
Okay.
The way I approached it, if one of our board members, when I was doing it, one of our board members went to the county board, and generally, the manager would be there at that time anyway.
Yeah.
But, and they'd be entitled to be covered under the per diem policy for that too, because it is, we're all appointed by the county.
So if there's an action item on the county board agenda, then obviously Brad would be there. And
Yeah,
that's
Nate
traditionally how.
and I will talk if
Yeah.
they need me there.
Yeah.
And if they want the board to be there, they typically talk to somebody off of our board and say, hey, can you get somebody from the board there? And usually if it's the board's going, that usually means that staff will be with them, because we're gonna probably do the presentation. And then the chairman or the board members are gonna do the discussion with them about what can be done and what they're looking at.
But you don't submit minutes, obviously, for the consent calendar.
Well,
that was
I happened to be in the county building and the Board of Commissioners were meeting. I stopped in, there was a question on our minutes. And I've communicated to the manager that they would like to have the whole complete minutes forwarded to the administration instead of bullet points. And that's.
Oh, it was like a synopsis that was, okay.
And that will happen.
I
It already has for
recollect
the
when I was the county
Yeah.
commissioner, if we got the road commission minutes, I don't recollect if we did or not.
It's been bullet points up till now. It's gonna be the full minutes that we're just gonna.
Okay. And is that a
electronically
consent,
shipped to
is
the
that the
administration.
consent calendar item for?
Yeah, they just
Yeah.
receive and file.
That happened to be the one thing that came up when I just incidentally walked through their meeting. So
Yeah, they removed it from the consent calendar just to make the point that why aren't we getting?
Yeah.
Because they never asked.
Yeah. I
That's been
swear I
rectified.
didn't know that when I asked that. I just, okay.
And that's been rectified. So if Alan and Jason will do planning, you're gonna do the building.
Yeah, that was, yeah.
Do you have a desire to do a building, or would you rather have somebody else?
I would defer to Carl, certainly, somebody that knows what they're
Well,
talking about.
we need somebody there too. I mean, Carl's not gonna be with us
Oh.
until
I will place
April,
your-
and I know things are gonna
Yeah.
start rolling here in a few weeks, right?
Yeah, we need to have somebody meet with us
Or,
next
or I
week.
can have Alan do it. I mean,
No, I'm fine where you would like to place me. I mean, it
Or I would
seems like,
go till Carl
Would
gets
you
back.
would you rather do budget?
I mean, that would be my skill set
Okay,
probably
so
more,
why don't we put you in the budget?
because I don't have a real skill set with construction and I would like to make sure somebody knows what they're talking
And
about.
Alan, I know you build things, so why don't we put you in the building, but Jason and Carl and
Okay, yeah.
work that all out.
And if Carl's regularly coming and he can not.
So, yeah, and so then on policy, I was,
So
Yeah.
building and facilities becomes Gilman and Lehman.
Finance,
finance, I was gonna have Gilman and Horn.
okay,
Well, but then Gilman's on 3.
I don't think Gilman. So,
Well,
unless
if
somebody
you're
else.
having 2 apiece,
What are you not trying to put yourself in there, Joe, or do you have something else? Okay. Because of the liaison or
So
something.
I was gonna do
Appropriations and legislative
PR
was
and legislative.
Underwood and Kazim.
I'm more than happy to do the budget too, but I'm trying to, give you folks, you know. You got a busy schedule.
I
so-
would not know everybody's strengths on this.
Well,
Just
yeah.
please name
So-
your-
On the finance and budget, you know, so are you on,
I was asking her if she'd like to do it.
did you want to do finance?
It is what I do for a living, so I feel like I might be helpful in that capacity.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you,
And it's government finance.
I'll tell you what, I mean, you know, and not to say anything here, even though you may not be into the finance, what if she were to, because really the building, our part of it is gonna be overseeing a lot of that finance.
Oh,
too.
okay.
Maybe that it would marry well.
I'm good either way.
So if she was in the building instead, and then, you know, then Alan, you stayed with the
Alright.
finance with her on that.
I'm wasn't here.
Okay.
All right,
Well,
Finance and budget.
so, all right, let's start with the PR and legislative. That's
Okay.
gonna stay the same.
right,
Under and Kevin.
Joe and Hayden,
Engineering. It was you
Alan and myself.
and Alan, because Alan has done that kind of stuff before, so that's his strength. Policy, I was looking at Hyder and Elise,
Okay.
because I know that's their strengths. Building, you would like to be on it. Carl has left. So it's really either,
I'd be more comfortable there with the budget.
okay, so we'll put Alan on there.
If that's not a problem, Bill. Sticking you with me a couple of times, this can be a problem.
So you're gonna be on policy then?
No,
Oh,
no, just two on policy.
Okay, all right. So it's you and me on, okay,
Building.
we're on building, okay,
And I was gonna have Elise do budget.
okay.
And that leaves you, that leaves you, Joe, with the vacancy, so you would be on budget and finance
Budget,
also.
finance also.
There you go.
Okay.
So Jake Gilman is on building and facilities and engineering and planning. Joe is on finance and budget, PR and legislative.
Mhm.
Alan is on building and facilities, engineering and planning.
Mhm.
I am on PR and legislative and policy, and Elisa is on finance and budget and policy. So everyone has two, right?
So are we happy that everybody's strength? Somebody's not unhappy, somebody's happy.
I think that's.
Share it all.
Appreciate you guys' work, because I'm a consensus kind of person, because you don't want to put somebody where they don't want to be. So.
Thanks for not giving me space.
I'm just like, it's okay, I'm
Not a
gonna be
long way.
there.
Sorry, don't record that.
That leaves us with review board rules. There's no changes, so I don't think I should do anything there.
What is a review, review of board?
Yeah.
Okay, I was like, wait a minute, what is that for?
No,
It's a lot of
You
committees.
don't have any, which then leaves us to public comment.
Don't believe we got it?
Which leads us to a motion to
Adjourn.
You gave